All right, Minion, what are you going to play in BFA? You know, people think I am so mean to CIG with some of the things that I say in videos, and I mean they don't understand. If I wanted to show you how mean I can be, you know what? F it. We're doing a comment show. Now, in all honesty, this actually is something that relates back to Star Citizen, because a lot of people think that I'm really mean to CIG and stuff like that. The comments you say on your videos, Minion, are so mean. Don't you know that the developers, their feelings are soft and delicate, like a flower, and you're just trampling on them? Bullshit. I take so easy on CIG. Like, have I done the video on the Karstark Arms scalpel sniper rifle yet? Have I made that video? No, I let that one slide. I just said, you know what? I'm gonna give you a freebie over there because he just got out 3.2 and it's performing so well. I'm gonna shelve that, and we'll talk about it at a later date, because I want people to kind of look at it and go, you know what, this is a major step forward. It is a good step forward in 3.2. Is it perfect? No, 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 no. But it is progress, and you are heading in the right direction. And with the changes to the Cutlass, once again, perfect? No. Heading in the right direction? Absolutely, thumbs up. Great, fantastic. Whereas, like, if you were to go to the other side of the fence and you look at BFA, think about the situation that those players are in, man. Blizzard has announced that post-launch, they are still going to have some class changes, some major class changes, potentially going in patch 8.1. So let's say you go and you level a class 3-4 months down the road, your class might change right out from under you, and there might be major changes there, and that can change someone's decision as to whether or not they want to play that character. It could totally alter the gameplay and ruin it for some people. Now, add to that the fact that one of the things that your character comes with is this thing called the Heart of Azeroth, which you have to level up continuously throughout the expansion, much like artifact weapons were in this expansion that has literally just ended. Sometime today, they're going to finish putting up the 8.0 pre-patch in live. You have to continuously level this thing up. So you might invest 3-4 months into this thing, and then all of a sudden find out you despise the class that you've actually been playing. Imagine being trapped in that situation. And that's live. That's a AAA game that has been around since 2004. You know? And that is something that is literally on the cusp of happening. You know, it's like sometimes people rip on CIG and they say, oh, you know, that video contents, their presenters are awkward, you know, with each other. It's like, dude, it's a fledgling company that's just getting off the ground, and they're trying to pull people who are normally like developers, programmers, animators, artists, and things like that, and saying, hey, how would you like to present a show for half an hour, or nowadays, you know, under 10 minutes, but back then, possibly 45-minute show. How would you like to present and, you know, front our entire project like that? That's a pretty daunting task. So I don't mind the fact that, you know, there are awkward moments within it. And overall, I mean, CIG does respond to comments. They're a little bit slowish sometimes, and I think that there are some things that might get kind of pushed aside, like, oh, we can't really deal with that now, or oh, if we deal with that, we're actually going to kick open a much bigger door, and we don't want to deal with that issue, so let's just kind of push that aside for now. But overall, they're still trying to figure things out, right? It's not like they're a company that's been, you know, running a live game for over 15 years and still effing up all over the place. Whereas on the other side of the fence, you get this situation over here, which is Ian Hazzikostas and what is apparently Weird Al Yankovic's illegitimate son, basically explaining again why they're putting a Pathfinder achievement in so you can't fly in the new expansion for up to a year, which is, you know, supposedly because, oh, you know, we just feel that the game is more interesting when you play it on the ground. Horseshit. It's because you don't have the time to polish the levels and finish everything up, so that if a player's flying over the ground, they might see errors or places where you cheated, and you need more time to finish all that up, so it's just easier to keep them on the ground. Oh, we want to control the game flow. Bullshit. But to get back to the main question, which is what class am I going to play? Rogue. I did some testing, and I just kind of looked at what's developing within the game, just the larger game environment, not just the character that I wanted to play, because the changes to Rogue are fairly minimal. They don't represent a catastrophic change to how the character plays, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And the truth is, the larger game system changes, like the things like removing artifact weapons, so which is to say, like, for those of you that don't know, when you started Legion, you got your weapons, and those were the same weapons you used throughout the expansion. They would automatically level up as you played the game. Now that's no longer a thing, so I'm gonna have to go hunting weapons, and because of certain threat changes in the game, rogues and their tricks of the trade ability are going to be much more valuable, and combat overall is, you know, we're trying to keep it quiet, but it's shining pretty good right now in the beta, so we're hoping it doesn't get nerfed. But yeah, so trying to get into a lot of Mythic Plus dungeons and hopefully get a match set of weapons, which those of you who have played will know is a very difficult thing to do, to get the right weapons. So I just want to give myself the best advantage there. And beyond that, war mode, essentially going out into the zones and ganking players from the other faction. I mean, you can sit there as a rogue in stealth and basically wait till somebody else engages them. They blow their cooldowns. Boom, dip in and just start ripping them apart. Stun lock them and destroy them. I mean, it's literally almost an entire mode that was designed around the idea of please gank as many players as possible to win. They call it war mode. It should just literally be called rogue mode. So yeah, rogue. Now, next up, Flicker Yarn Chaser, I believe. Out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on treasure hunting? I've thought it could potentially be fun to roam the universe in search of new, valuable shinies and artifacts, assuming this is something we'll be able to do. I have mostly been imagining myself using a reclaimer, thumbs up right there, to find and extract valuables, given that it has okay cargo capacity and many tools for the job. However, as you mentioned, smaller ships might be more practical at times, so I'm curious if you think other ships might potentially work better. Overall, you know, we found out yesterday, and I planned to do an episode around this, where they talked about multi-crew and using NPCs. They actually, you know, quote-unquote revealed information like, oh, they're going to be really good at turrets, but maybe tasks that, you know, require a little bit of creative thinking, maybe not so much. I wonder, you know, that's weird, because I think I've heard that before. I think there was a guy on YouTube who's been saying that for like 4 years, but, you know, big reveal. I think it's a good idea. The Reclaimer is obviously built around, you know, being resilient, being tough. That's always something that's been written up as part of the ship. Being able to have deep space scanners and go out and look for things in the furthest corners of space, and it's got the long-range jump drives, yet we have still to discover what that actually means. Overall, I think the Reclaimer is an airtight ship, and I don't think you're going to have a problem finding people who would go along with you on your quote-unquote quests. I think that it's a good idea. My only real concern is the operation of a ship over the long term, where, you know, obviously we found out NPCs can do certain things, but maybe not be so great at repairs and shit like that. It depends on where we fall with the wear and tear thing. Is it an omnipresent concern, or is it just every once in a while it's like, oop, got 100,000 space miles on my jump drive, time to, you know, give it an overhaul, that type of shit. I mean, if it's constant and you're constantly having to fix stuff and upgrade stuff and repair stuff, then, you know, going out on your own and and not having a crew that can do all that stuff for you might be a bit of a pain in the ass, and a smaller ship might be easier to maintain. But then again, at the same time, a small ship might not be able to carry enough spare parts depending on where you're roaming and what facilities are available. But overall, I love the idea of treasure hunts. I would love to see treasure hunts in the game. I would love to find out, you know, more backstory as to the Hadesians, which was a lore article written a long time ago where they talked about this dead world where a civilization used to exist, and at one point someone thought they saw a ghost on their ship, and I was just like, perfect. I literally want to go there and build a house. But, you know, I would love to see that stuff in game. I would love to see, you know, quest lines from varying points of view, you know, where different people can find different clues and kind of bring them together and say, hey, I've got this. Oh, I've got that. And hey, I've got this. Don't these things fit together? Holy shit. Let's go on a treasure hunt. Something like that. I would love to see that in the game. I really, really would, especially if it incorporated some type of cooperative gameplay where different people could bring together different pieces and say, hey, let's all band together and go find this thing, whatever it is. That would be amazing, and that would be an intensely immersive experience. And I think that when you're developing a game like Star Citizen, it's so easy to fall into whether it's procedurally generated content or scripted missions. It's so easy to kind of, you know, just say, go over here or kill 15 people and then come back. Honestly, it's so easy to fall into that pattern, and I love the more immersive stuff. I love the stuff that makes you go and search all over the world, you know? So, yeah, I would love to see that, and I think the Reclaimer is a solid choice. There's going to be some gameplay elements that could change that, but overall, I love the Reclaimer as a ship, and we'll have to wait and see on the NPC stuff, but it does look pretty good. It does look pretty good. Though I do have some questions as to how well it will work. I do have some lingering doubts, I'm not going to lie. I have a feeling that it's going to end up in a good place because realistically for CIG, they have so many people who have gone out there and bought these multi-crew ships, who have invested so heavily in multi-crew ships, that I got to think that, you know, that they're going to be a little bit lenient as to how well these ships perform, and to make sure that people don't sit there and go, wow, this ship that I spent 400, 500, 600, 700 or more dollars on plays like dog shit. I don't think that CIG is going to go that direction. So I think that I think the Reclaimer will work out well for you. I only hope that those missions do make it in game, or stuff somewhat like that makes it in game, because I think it would make for a much richer player experience having that. So next up, Hostess Humani Generous. Question now is if the Super Hornet is more flexible choice for piracy than the Sabre as your only fighter, modularity or stealth and speed. Well, that's going to be something that we're going to have to wait and see, because we're going to have to wait and see where the Ghost Hornet kind of falls. Because as we know, the Hornet, Super Hornet, all those ships are modular with many swappable items in between them. If you want to make a tracker, you can make a tracker. You can make a ghost tracker. You can make whatever mishmash of different versions of the Hornet that you want. And if you can get the ghost armor on a Super Hornet, then, I mean, is it possible? Could you, with the addition of other components and subcomponents and all this stuff, can you get it to the point where you could build a Ghost Hornet that's armed like a Super Hornet, where you might be able to sneak up on somebody and deliver a devastating blow, but still step away from that, reconfigure your ship, and then just go out for a straight up fighter, you know, just a straight up ass kicking fighter with the Super Hornet, just flat out. That's possible. Whereas somebody who specializes in straight up sneaking in, delivering a heavy hit, and then escaping might go for something more like the Sabre. And the Sabre doesn't look like it's going to be much of a slouch in that department. I'm not in love with the way the guns are placed on the Sabre. I've made no, you know, I've not really hidden that fact. I think that it's a little bit short-sighted, but, you know, it's like, but it looks so cool. But overall, I'm You know, I think that those are two real top-end ships. And so I think that anybody who gets them is going to definitely be pleased with what they get. But I think it's going to depend more on what kind of player you are and how you plan to use them. Are you always going to be the guy who slips in really quietly, you know, delivers that devastating hit and then slips out? You know, are you going to be that, or are you just going to be the guy who sometimes wants to be able to do that, but most of the time you just want to come in and just shred people? Super Hornet might be more your way to go. It's more of a personal taste thing and, you know, personal tactics than anything else, because neither fighter is deficient in such a way that I would outright say one over the other. It's more, it depends on the user. But once again, as the user, you have to be harsh and honest with yourself, and you have to say, you know, day in, day out, what am I going to get more use out of? If you can only get one, what am I going to get more use out of? What is going to be of more practical value? Especially like if you're playing Star Citizen on a really tight budget, but you want to go out and get that ship, think about the ship that you buy as not only just a vehicle in the game, but a metaphorical vehicle for pushing your character forward financially, you know, through whatever systems, whatever goals that you have in the game. Think about that ship in that way, because you may not purchase, you know, the cool looking ship, or you might just sit down and say, you know what, I have to buy for practicality so that I can make a lot of money and always kind of have this backup ship that's always going to generate a lot of money that lets me go out and buy all the fun ships in the game. So those are some of the things that I would think about when asking that question. But once again, that's not a question that I can answer. That's a question that's up to the individuals, because there actually is no right answer to that question apart from a personal perspective. All right, next up, Kolok. Sounds almost like Klingon. I'm kind of hoping that ships are available, or the ships that are available before full release will be Mark 1s of sorts, and that full release, newer, better versions of these ships will be made. Well, that's something that CIG has hinted at in the past, that, oh, these are just the beginner versions, these are just the basic versions, and then, of course, we'll iterate on them in the future. This is like, you know, the 3001 Cutlass, and then the next model year might incorporate some small changes or something like that. Ultimately, I think, in reality, that was kind of an escape mechanism. And I don't want to say that in an accusational way, like, oh, that was just CIG just trying to cover their tracks, you know, and, you know, find a way out of an argument, like, oh, we'll fix it later. But I feel that it was something that kind of opened a door in a conversation that kind of just said, you know, we have a way out. Don't worry, we have a plan, we have a way out. But realistically, in a living, breathing game, full release, having to create a new model year of Cutlasses every year with some changes maybe, or very little changes, might be a little bit on the expensive side, especially, well, not so much time or money expensive, but very time intensive. So it may not be something that they want to commit to like that. Though I do feel that we are already seeing the transformation of ships, certainly from the very early days versions, the old Cutlass, the old Hornet, the old 300, the old Avenger, the old Mustang. All these ships are now getting their kind of like Mark II version. Will they get iterated on in the future? I hope so. I really do, but I hope it's to, you know, not just to revisit the ship and maybe fix a few things or make a few things better, but to open up different possibilities with different ships. I'd like to see an Eclipse that that instead of a torpedo bay has this wicked passive sensor rate that allows you to collect all kinds of information. Maybe you have to take it back to somewhere to get it all processed to where you can use it, but something really cool like that. I would like to see other options open up with ships over the years. Certainly a lot of ships, people look at them, they say, oh, the Endeavor, what if we could use it as a carrier? Well, let's answer that question. Why don't we build an Endeavor that's all hangar modules? Why don't we try that out? Why don't we see what happens? Things like that. So they have kind of hinted at that, though I think it was more kind of like a way to slip out of, oh, well, this ship is a little bit deficient in this area. Like, oh, well, don't worry, we'll come back and fix it later. All right, next up, Matt O. What's your rationale for liking the Herald? Seems like until they add the hacking, data brokering, that thing is kind of pointless. Well, yeah, actually, I did kind of cover this in a recent video. Yeah, it is a dead ship. It's completely a dead ship because you can't really, like, even if you were to take it around and do regular missions, you can't really take cargo with it because you can't carry the cargo up the ladder, right? So problem number one, you can go out and you can do satellite hacking missions with it, but you still have to get out of your ship and then go into the satellite, and you're not really using the Herald to hack, which I almost wish they'd kind of snuck that in as something that like if you got into the Herald and you had somebody in the second seat and you just got close to the satellite, then the Herald could hack it. I would have liked to have seen that sneak into the game, in all honesty, but unfortunately it's not there. It is a dead ship, but it's a dead ship with a lot of potential. The things that are going to come with the electronic warfare, hacking, data running are all going to be very strong. Plus, I mean, it's got a bed, it's got a gun rack, it's got all kinds of storage spaces, visible storage spaces for storing all your gear. It's going to be one hell of a personal transport / specialized mission ship. It's a solid ship with a lot of potential, and the biggest problem with the Herald is that even though I love it to death, and I was one of the people who's always like, oh man, I can't wait till they build the Herald, they can't wait till they build the Herald, I almost to a certain degree wish that its game systems were prioritized along with its construction, though I understand 100% why they were not and why it's going to take so long for it to come around, because once again, a lot of these things are specialized in around just a few ships, especially electronic warfare. Would love to see it, but it's just not in the cards right now. But the Herald is going to be a damn good ship once it's there. And with that, this show has gone long for one of my videos, so I am going to cut things off here. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.